It's time to talk about this bacon monster. The bacon monster was from the very first book, the first story in the first book, and there were these alien robots that came down and were zapping everything and turning it to life. So the kids were being chased by trees and canoes and rocking chairs, and while they were in the kitchen, some bacon got zapped and turned into a bacon monster, and the kids lamented the fact that they loved bacon so much and the bacon was getting dirty. And then after they beat the aliens, everything went back to being inanimate. Camp had to be cleaned up, but all the bacon was ruined because it was outside in the dirt. So we're going to imagine that this monster went on to live after this and what his life would be like. All right. Nothing was more confusing. No, let's go present. Nothing is more confusing for a pile of raw bacon than to come to life. Sure, bacon comes from pigs and they're alive, but bacon coming to life would be like your toast or orange juice suddenly talking to you. At Lake Scatterwood, the night the aliens came, the pile of bacon in the kitchen woke up for the first time. There was a lot of screaming. The bacon monster was already confused about being alive, but screaming children just made it harder to figure out what was going on. He looked down at his bacon arms and legs. They were really more like tentacles, but Bacon Monster had no experience with sea life, so they were arms and legs to him. He tried to talk to the children. He somehow knew that screaming didn't mean anything good. What he didn't know was how to talk. So his comforting words came out as grunts and growls. When the children became more afraid, he tried to go to them for a hug. He didn't know the word for hug, but worried for the scared children and thought it might help. Sure, he was made of reanimated bacon, but he still had a kind bacon heart at his greasy center. He started screaming when he fell off the counter and splatted on the floor. He had no idea he was on the counter. He was on a counter until he was already falling. Hitting the floor hurt. Makes sense. Anything alive that hits a floor without expecting it is going to hurt at least a little. On top, okay, let me make this a new paragraph. On top of that, bacon, let's make it capital. Bacon Monster was made of loose pieces of bacon. So hitting the floor made him fall apart. As his pieces spread out, it got harder to think. He had only just started thinking, so he wasn't great at it anyway. He did feel like he was losing himself, so he did his best to calm down and pull himself back together. All right. As his bacon slices, I keep saying pieces, let's just call them slices. As his bacon slices reformed into his proper monster shape, he realized he was much smaller than he originally thought. By the time he could see out of his bacon eyes, the kids had run away from the kitchen. I'll say the camp kitchen. From the camp kitchen. They were still screaming. Bacon Monster felt responsible, so he followed after them to see if he could clear this misunderstanding up. Alright, let's keep this rolling. I feel good about where this story's going. Kids' stories, I try to make them a little bit funny, but also kind of have some sympathy going in there, something that they can attach to emotionally or learn something along the way. But number one thing is a story has to be entertaining, so let's keep that up. Bacon Monster felt responsible, so he followed after him to see if he could clear the misunderstanding up. Things grew more confusing as he entered the dining hall. Not the dinging hall, hold on. Dining hall. The tables, chairs, and a couple trees were chasing the kids back outside. Bacon Monster need to capitalize his name. Bacon Monster didn't know what was supposed to be alive and what wasn't. Still, he understood traffic was thick and he needed to be careful to not be stepped on. Okay, hold on, we'll make a new paragraph here. As he made his way outside, there were more walking trees, hopping, rocking chairs, a canoe, I have lost my ability to spell. Okay. Vowels. That's what's the problem with spelling. You never get the vowels right. As he made his way outside, there were more walking trees, hopping rocking chairs, a canoe inching its way after the kids, and giant alien robots with ray guns. All right. Bacon Monster was really happy. All these people were concerned with the happiness, with the well-being of the children. So he joined the chase. I should probably make that the same paragraph, but I'll deal with that later. Alright, so he joined the chase. Now let's see what happens next. The aliens fired their ray guns at the children. This made Bacon Monster stop. Every living thing, let's say every living, moving thing, has some instincts. Bacon Monster was new at all this, but shooting ray guns at people, at children, just felt wrong to him in his greasy bacon guts. All right. Bacon Monster decided to do something about it. He turned on the 10-foot tall aliens and marched toward them. He stopped in front of the closest one and gave his best speech on morality, the social contract, and basic decency. Of course, he had not learned to talk yet. So it all came out as growls. The alien kicked the bacon monster through the air. He landed in 3 different piles with rocks, leaves, and dirt sticking to his slices. He had a real identity crisis. Who was he? What did it mean to be Bacon Monster? What power did he have in the world to change things for the better? What was his bacon purpose in life? Was he 3 tiny bacon monsters, or was he still his old bacon self? When the piles pulled back together, he felt better. As he looked around, he saw the ray guns were bringing things to life. Bacon Monster had his first realization. Let's say revelation. I'm probably going to have to pull back the language a little bit, not foul language, but the level of vocabulary before I publish this. So I'm just going to write it for now, but part of it may be simplifying the vocabulary, even though it seems cute to have this bacon monster having a existential crisis. The vocabulary for existential crises may be above the audience here, but might be a way to communicate the same idea with simpler language. So Bacon Monster had what grade level do you shoot for? For this one, it is middle grades, which again can be higher, but sometimes I've picked simpler language for this series because some of the readers for this particular series are like older readers that have a little bit of reading trouble. So the actual series itself is pretty simple vocabulary. I kind of play with it a little bit in these short stories that I do for Patreon because I'm trying to pull in a range of readers. But I'm just going to write the story the way I feel like writing it for now, and then kind of go back and adjust the language, which is what I had to do for those books anyway. I originally wrote the Lake Scatterwood books for my son when he was in middle school because he was, seventh, eighth grade, but was still struggling as a reader. And so he had trouble finding stuff on his reading level that was also interesting. So I kind of wrote these monster stories about these kids at a camp. When he actually was at camp, we were allowed to email him short emails. So I was just emailing him chapters of a story to read. And he really liked them, so I started making more. And then eventually they got published. And so again, a lot of times I'm writing for, I guess, higher age, but sometimes lower reading level. But again, I don't have a perfect formula for that. But so, like I said, I'm probably going to pull back the vocabulary a little bit here, but I'm going to get the story written first. As he looked around, he saw the ray guns were bringing things to life. Bacon Monster had a real revelation. His first revelation at that point. The ray guns had brought him to life. The aliens weren't friends with the kids. The kids were afraid. Bacon Monster decided it was time to pick sides. All right, let me fix my spelling errors here. It was time to pick sides. He rushed toward the children to tell them he was here to help. The problem was the growls instead of words. The children used mirrors to bounce the rays back and destroyed the ray guns. As each one exploded, the walking trees, chairs, and tables stopped in place. Bacon Monster stopped too, but he was thinking again. He was getting really good at thinking. All right, let me do a new paragraph. This was it. For the children to defeat the aliens, the things the ray guns brought to life had to go back to normal. Had to go back to normal. Normal for Bacon Monster was to be slices of bacon. He wanted the kids to win, though, so he waited for what must happen. That's pretty dark. Let's see if I can lighten this up a little. All right. Wait to see what must happen. When the last ray gun exploded, he fell apart. He felt himself drifting away, and he missed the end of the battle. He wasn't sure how much time had passed. He wasn't sure how much time had passed, but he heard the children again. All right, they talked about how gross the bacon had gotten on the ground. They said they loved bacon and would miss it. Same paragraph. That made Bacon Monster feel good. Then, as their voices got further, this is a distance, so it would be with an A, farther away, he realized he was still hearing, still feeling, and still thinking. He tried his best to pull himself back together. Nothing happened at first, but then the slices of raw bacon started to twitch. Piece by piece, he slid back together and found himself alone in all the mess of the battle. All right. He thought about going to show the children that he was still alive. Then he thought things would not go well until he learned to talk. With a deep sigh, Bacon Monster followed the trail out to the road. He slithered under the gate to the camp and kept going. Cars passed him as he marched along the side of the road, gathering more dirt on his greasy slices. All right. Bacon Monster found his way to a town. It was still dark as he made his way along the sidewalk. He found trash around an ice cream shop and put that away in a trash can. You might ask how he knew to throw things away, but really, isn't that the easiest thing in the world to learn and remember? Farther, it's probably further in this case, but I'm gonna leave it farther. Farther along, he came to some houses. Farther along, he came to some houses. Toys were left in the yard. Bacon Monster gathered them and put them away in the open garages. Some of the kids and parents would wonder why the toys were so greasy, but everyone is happy. Everyone is happy when things are put away. I need to wrap this up somehow. Kind of got a running story here and need to figure out what the Bacon Monster's place is in the world. Animals were interested in Bacon Monster. Who doesn't love the smell of bacon? When they saw him moving, or he growled as he tried to hug them, they ran away. Okay. Oh, thank you for the gifted sub, man. I appreciate that. Nice little thing to finish off this story. Alright. What am I going to do here? I may need to work on the ending during the editing, but I'm going to find an ending right now. So, Bacon Monster saw families moving around in the houses. He did not go up to the windows because he remembered how afraid the children had been, and he kind of figured looking in people's houses wasn't cool. As the sun came up, Bacon Monster continued along the highway. He didn't know what life had in store for him, but everyone has to find their purpose someday. All right. Not sure if that's the ending. I'm not even sure if that's a decent ending, but that's going to be the ending for now of that particular story. And again, that one will be free on my Patreon for younger readers, and it is connected to the Lake Scatterwood tales, which are available for money.